All right, welcome back, gardeners. So today's video is all about how to start the process, how to get this whole project going. We are going to discuss several steps on how to kind of start from a blank slate to visualizing the very next step, to the installation, to soil amendments, talking about root barriers. I'm just kind of giving you a very good feel for how to start this project to the final ending. That way you have a great game plan before the first shovel hits the ground. Oh, I think it's cooler up here. All right, you guys, so if you are working on a budget and you're kind of figuring out, what to start with. So you always want to start with manipulating your gallon size. If you can start with your big material first, then come in with your layered material, especially if you're going to do what Eugene and Nikki are doing here, which is they're going to do things in phases. So we're getting all the tree material in for them. Next, they're going to come in and do the accent material and the bush planting. So if I were setting it up or giving you some advice like I am today to how to start that process, it would be to be sure to take your rear plantings, the backdrop of everything, make sure that is your tallest material. Those are kind of your roof lines of the planting. In this particular project, it's the coconut palms and the traveler's palms. If you're doing it yourself and you can handle a 30-gallon size, those would be your 30-gallon plants. Everything in your backdrop would be your big stuff. And then you can come in with your next tier, what's going to be in front of that. Come in with now 15-gallon. And then below 7-gallon, 3-gallon, 1-gallon. And that's a great way to make sure that, you're working in layers. And it's also, for Nikki and Eugene, it's going to give them foliage from the ground up. So as they're waiting for budgets to allow for the next phase, they're going to have some fullness down below. So as everything layers into place, they're going to still feel like they have a great waterfall effect leading down to the pool area. I get this question so often. How close can I plant these trees together? Well, that all depends on the size that you start with. If you can start with a nice tall tree that has a great roof line and a bit of a trunk, now you can put that other tree right to the front of it. Keep in mind, you've already amended the soil. You're going to make sure everything gets good fertilization. These things are not going to compete with each other. They're going to be in the same soil line as each other. Hopefully that doesn't concern you too much about that. So go ahead and put your coconut palm there. And then come in with your triangle palm that's 25 gallon. It's going to be about half the size. Then come in with your pygmy date palm that's going to be about half the size of that. And then tier down. That way, when you're looking at it, you have this great waterfall effect all the way to the space. That's what's going to give you the walls around the patio or the pool area. It's going to give you that structure. It's going to envelop you. So it's really important to kind of start that way, especially if you're starting on a budget, because that's going to do a great job of giving you that instantaneous fullness. And then, of course, as things grow up, then now you can start popping new material in down below. And that's what's great about landscaping and why you're never done. So once you've kind of mapped out the plant sizes and what you're going to do there, the next thing to do is to start visualizing the space. So what I like to do for my clients is we create a full rendering for them. So it shows a before picture and then kind of what we're thinking about for the space. Now, I know most of you guys don't have the option of doing a rendering, but what I also do, even though I have a rendering in place, and even after all of these years in business, I make sure to lay everything out with my stakes. If you guys saw A Life in the Day, last week's video, you know that I come out and mark everything with stakes, and that pretty much represents the trees that I'm going to use in the space. That's where I play and adjust. I make sure that those stakes represent exactly the locations of where I want those trees to go within inches. And I kind of base it on the seating sections, the front door, outside the kitchen window, the main areas that you're going to seat and relax, to make sure that I'm using the budget wisely. You guys want to make sure that if you're investing in these trees and these plants, that gosh, you're getting the best view from the areas that are used the most. And that's why symmetry is so important, or in some cases, lack thereof of symmetry. Like for instance, in this backyard pool area, we have a very defined pool space, a very rectangular pool space. And then we have a pretty narrow planting bed all the way around it. So we really needed to be careful of how we were going to use that space. You want symmetry because you want to make sure that the features, the wall, the structures alone, all the big material kind of has really good balance and flow all the way through. And I know those of you guys who are thinking, gosh, I want that jungle. I want it layer on layer, and I want it to feel more flowy. I want it to feel more organic. I promise you can do that after this step. This step to me is one of the most important steps, because once you get these key things in place, then you can have different layouts. You can have different accents, different features that are going to kind of give you more of that jungle vibe, but keeping the walls and everything together. So in this particular area, we have a very clean line pool design, which I am in love with. I absolutely love Eugene and Nikki's pool. This is just such a great use of space back here. However, if I'm creating symmetry where I have a tree in this corner and a tree in this corner, trees this way, and everything lines up this way, and know the challenge can come in where the pool is not exactly symmetrical, where we have a lift on one side of it and it kind of tears down on another side of it. Usually hot tubs have a rise in elevation, which is fabulous, but when that happens, you want to make sure that that area has a little bit more lushness, that area has a little bit more nestling. You kind of want to take that and lift the space and kind of work with it, go with it. Yes, you want symmetry there, but you also want to work with what the elevations give you. So when an elevation pops up, so does your landscaping. You want to engulf that. You want to kind of nestle that, create kind of more of an intimate spot. And I tend to always do that when it comes to hot tubs or jacuzzi areas or waterfall sections, anything with a rise like that. I kind of want to envelop it because that's what gives you that resort-like feel. And that's what I love that the resorts do so well. They really make sure to capitalize on all the money that was spent on whatever feature they have. If they put in a waterfall, you can guarantee that bad boy is enveloped by beautiful palm fronds that are overhanging it to give it that natural look. If they've got a very contemporary pool feel like this, you can guarantee that they put the more expensive item. Maybe it's that cool red cone ginger. They nestled it into the corner and put some palm trees around it. You know, those are the areas that you pay a little closer attention to because that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck. So you want to make sure to be intentional about the space. You can take a piece of paper and you can take a CAD plan and you can put a tree here, 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 and here and make it all make sense on the picture. But when you're working with a space, when you're working with roof lines for a front yard, when you're working with waterfalls or you're working with hot tubs for backyard pool areas, you want to be intentional, work with what that space is giving you and then take it a whole nother level. Just really bring in the big mamma jammas for those particular areas because again, that's where you're going to get the biggest bang. That is where it's really important. And that's what people remember. That's what kind of gives you that atmosphere. It takes you from a nice landscaping to a resort landscaping. But now, on to the next tip. But before we go any further, before you plant anything here, it's an ideal time to go ahead and put your root barrier in. If you're starting with a blank canvas, it's easy to access the ground, go ahead and put your root barrier in. There's so many different varieties available on the market. I'll be sure to list some of my favorites on the screen. You want to make sure that you have some access to it because so many times those root barriers are 20, 24 inches deep. So having protection along a foundation of a pool area is a great thing to do. Some of these palm trees, especially if you're really going to give you that jungle vibe, are going to have big canopies, which means big roots. So to prevent anything cracking pipes and whatnot, you kind of want to do a root barrier along the foundation of those trees or right along the foundation of the pool wall itself. But now let's talk about what's going into the ground. Now you're getting ready to put your trees in, you're digging your holes, how to prep that for best success. So you guys know that I am a big fan of making sure that the ground has really good soil to work with. In Florida, we have a mixture of whether it's over sandy soil or it's clay and marl that we're dealing with. You kind of have to modify it no matter what soil conditions that you have when you're in Florida. Just to kind of give you a visual on this, my key mix is 50% black cow, so that's about a middle of your bucket line here. Then I use 25% peat moss and then 25% pine bark nuggets. Mix it all together. The hole is dug and ready. It's a little bit deeper than what I need in reality. So I'll dig the hole a little deeper and quite a bit wider. And all I do is make sure that that tree root ball sticks up about 3 inches out of the ground. That I take that soil mixture and I mix it all the way around, backfilling with as much of that soil that I need depending on the size of the plant or the tree or the root ball if it's a big giant tree. That is a huge thing to do. I also will mix in palm tone. This is one of my favorite things to work with, something that does not burn your roots. You can kind of take that and just dabble that all down below in the hole and then backfill. You're going to use that soil and the soil that's remaining to fill around those edges. That's the reason why you want your tree to stick up about 3 inches above ground, because that soil that we use, that mixture that we use, will kind of compact over time, and you definitely don't want a tree to have any kind of divots. So give yourself some breathing room. Plant your trees a little bit high. It's a little bit less digging that you have to do, so why not plant them a little bit higher? But as I always say, you've heard this phrase if you're a gardener so many times, put a $5 tree into a $20 hole and you will have success. I know it sounds like an expensive landscaping, but that is the way to do it. That's the ratio. Put a smaller tree in, but definitely work with good soil mixture. And then you're probably wondering, now that you kind of have these steps and you kind of have some ideas of when is the best time to start here in Florida, I would say there's not really the perfect time to start. If you could plant within the rainy season, then that's really going to be great for your plants. It's really going to get everything off to a fabulous start. However, if you're planting in the winter, then that's not a bad time either, because that gives your plants and trees a little bit of a rest, a little bit of respite, where you're not constantly having to water things in to kind of get established. And then if you're planting in the summer, then our thunderstorms, our afternoon thunderstorms, are going to be an ideal time frame. So what I would say is try to avoid, if you can, where the heat index shoots straight up. Even the end of July, August, September, that can be a little bit of a tough time period. If you are weekend warriors out there and you don't mind hand watering and doing a little bit extra care, then it's never a bad time to plant in Florida, because we are in such a great growing season. That's a perfect time to get things going and really taking off. So I hope in today's video, it helps give you guys that one step closer, 1 foot forward of like, hey, I can do this. I can take it now from the blank slate that I'm seeing from and start playing with those poles, kind of get them envisioning what you're looking at. Put those guys out there, go inside your house, look at it different times of the day. Just make sure that you're really happy with the layout that you're coming from, and then find the symmetry off that. So once you say, okay, this is my focal point, this is my focal point, now bring those two things together. That's what's really going to be your everlasting part of your design. That's what's really going to bring it all together. Trust me, you can get jazzy, you can get creative, you can bring in drifts of this and drifts of that to kind of give you more of that wild feel, but definitely get that structure in place. So I hope I stressed that enough. That's kind of why I wanted to mention it again, because to me, that is such an important part of getting the proper design for the right space. That's what I love about our design process, because we want to make sure to customize it to your location. It's got to hit the corners perfectly. It's got to be the focal point on the jacuzzi area, maybe the entrance to the back patio area. I want to bring focus to it, bring attention to it. Those are important things to kind of make sure to incorporate when you're thinking about your outdoor space. And that'll make it an area that you just want to live in. And that's the goal, right? Make it your resort. Make your outdoor space your own private oasis. That way you're vacationing out here, you're entertaining out here, you're proud to be out here with friends and family and enjoy that area. That's the goal I think that we're all trying to create, is our own bit of ambiance, because we're all busy, we all work like crazy, and I think having that space that's your own, it's the jewel, it's the icing on the cake. So I hope this video helps. Anything that you guys have question-wise about this type of design process, please leave it in the comments down below. Those of you guys who need more than this kind of inspiration, then hit us up, because we do landscape design, installation, landscape design only, and virtual consults, and we'd be happy to meet with you. So I'll put all that information down below and just flash it up here on the screen for a screenshot. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed today's video, then you will enjoy last week's video, which is ultimate privacy in a backyard. Typical suburban backyard, turned out gorgeous. Thank you guys so much. See you next weekend. Take care.